Products we buy at the grocery store are the reason people are protesting in Seattle. News Center 4 at 6 starts now.
Live from the news leader in Northern California, News Center 4 at 6. Here's the very latest.
They walk onto planes without tickets, drive through unguarded gates, and slip into cargo areas nationwide. Undercover investigators finding major holes in airport security. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pete Wilson.
And I'm Wendy Takuda, and our top story tonight. The airlines, the FAA, and the airports are all under fire. Transportation Department investigators have uncovered stunning lapses in security at 8 major airports, including San Francisco International. News Center 4's Linda Yee is at SFO right now with a live report. Linda?
Well, Wendy, in all of those airports that they checked throughout the nation, out of 173 attempts, investigators were able to breach security in more than 2/3 of the cases. In fact, investigators even deliberately set off alarms in 25 different airports. In more than half those cases, no security personnel even reacted. How could this have happened? Security checks are tight. Passengers who try to skirt the security X-ray machines will set off alarms and get their picture taken.
Here I am violating security.
But according to the Department of Transportation, this is not where the problems are in at least 8 major airports nationwide. It's here, where authorized airport workers get access to the airfield. Security clearances require ID badges and electronic hand readers before a door opens. But undercover investigators could and did breach the system. One commercial airline pilot says it's easy to do.
The employees that work at the airport themselves need to be more conscientious about who they're letting through the doors behind them. Because as an employee with a badge, I could go through a door and then hold the door open for the next person behind me. You're not supposed to do that. I mean, there's guidelines. You could lose your security privileges here. I mean, if you do something like that, but
a lot of people do it
anyway. People do it anyway because they look at someone, and if they know the person, that's one thing. But if they don't really know the person, but they're dressed in uniform, they could be fooled.
The government says that's unacceptable.
Security depends on a system of systems, and part of it relies on the employee at the airport. And if that employee at the airport didn't challenge us, and that enabled us then to do things like walk right behind them.
Earlier this year, San Francisco International Airport officials added extra security to make sure employees follow the rules.
So we now have guards placed outside the door to make sure one person through one swipe goes through the door.
But investigators said not only were they able to slip through secure gates, they also walked through concourse doors and jet bridges, even sneaking on a plane without a ticket. Some investigators walked freely on the tarmac and no one stopped them. SFO officials say they've already taken corrective action.
We have 5 security checkpoints on the airfield that you can go through with your car. Those are all manned 24 hours a day. They're guard shacks, and there are gates that you have to go through.
Passengers, for the most part, were not overly concerned. Government investigators found the lapses in security.
Yesterday I had my bag randomly picked, and they did a chemical swab on it. So from that standpoint, security in Cincinnati seemed pretty good.
I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to Hawaii, you know.
Well, maybe that passenger should be worried because Honolulu International Airport was one of the major airports that had those security lapses. In the meantime, officials here at San Francisco International say they are aware of all the problems. They've been working on it. In fact, they have a task force they've set up 2 years ago to improve security here. Wendy, back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. I remember hearing about that then. The Transportation Department is not releasing the names of the problem airports, but the Washington Post says there are 8 of them. And the Post is reporting the SFO is 1, Honolulu, New York's JFK, Washington National, Chicago O'Hare, Atlanta, Miami, and Salt Lake City.
Well, there were some long delays on BART this morning. Some of you know that. There was a train on fire. Nobody hurt, but with the MacArthur station shut down for about 2 hours, a lot of passengers were going nowhere fairly quickly. News Center 4's Joe Oliver is in Oakland with the investigation into the cause there.
Pete, the evening commute is in full swing here at the MacArthur station. The car that caught fire is sitting at the Concord yard. Investigators will take it apart over the night to try and find out where that fire started. A fire that brought everything here at the MacArthur BART station to a complete stop. The outside of the third car from the head of the train bore the scorched scar from the fire. Inside, the overturned foam seat had similar scars, and the air had the smell of burned rubber or plastic. The passengers say it smelled like burning brakes.
It smelled like the brakes were like it normally does. Usually you smell brakes that are, that are burning or smoking. That's what it smelled like, but it was clear it was something stronger than that. Then he came on and told everybody to immediately get off the car, get off the train and go downstairs, and then they evacuated the station.
I got off the train and looked up to the head of the train. There was just smoke coming, big clouds of white smoke coming out of the one of the cars up ahead.
Oakland fire crews responded quickly, and BART shut down the MacArthur BART station.
I've heard there were some flames, and I've heard that there wasn't much in the way of flames. So that again will also be part of the investigation.
Healy says trains couldn't pass through the MacArthur station for a half hour, shutting down the Pittsburgh Bay Point to Colma and the Richmond to Fremont lines.
Because MacArthur is the primary transfer station in Oakland, it did affect north-south bound traffic initially, and then again we were able to open at least the outside tracks for service, but they didn't stop at this station.
This bus 49 will take you to downtown.
Neither did passengers on the damaged train. BART provided a bus loop to get riders to the Albany station in Berkeley and the downtown Oakland BART stations. 2 hours later, workers had the MacArthur station running again. Now, BART crews inspect more than 500 cars every day before they actually go on the tracks. And while this morning's fire shut down the Pittsburgh Bay Point to Colma line and the Richmond to Fremont line, none of the other BART lines were affected. Pete?
All right, Joe, thanks a lot.
A judge in Fresno has set a date for the first Cary Stayner trial. Federal prosecutors are going to start presenting their side of the Yosemite murder case next October. News Center 4's Laura Anthony was in Fresno for the court hearing today.
Accused multiple murderer Cary Stayner flashed a smile and waved at his father in a Fresno courtroom, where his trial for the brutal beheading murder of Yosemite naturalist Joey Armstrong is now tentatively set for October 17, 2000. Prosecutors also indicated they will likely seek the death penalty for the 38-year-old Cedar Lodge handyman who's charged separately with the kidnap and murder of tourists Carol and Julie Sund and Silvina Peloso. The Justice Department decided this week that the Armstrong case will go first, and then the state prosecution for the Sund Peloso murders. Sal Chandra is a criminal defense attorney in Fresno.
However, it just stands to reason that if the federal case goes first, and there is a conviction, that is going to substantially, in my opinion, pollute the jury pool, and by doing so, substantially strengthen what otherwise may be the weaker of the two cases.
If they pursue the death penalty, prosecutors in the Armstrong trial will likely use evidence from the Sund Peloso murders to show Stayner's alleged pattern of violent behavior. In the meantime, prosecutors have agreed to turn over 12,000 pages of Sund Peloso evidence to Stayner's defense team.
Obviously, it takes a long time to read 12,000 pages.
Mr. Stayner seemed to shake his head at the idea of a trial that late. Is he disappointed that it might happen in the fall?
I can't speak for Mr. Stayner, but, we set a trial date appropriate with our responsibilities.
Despite his son's reported confessions to 4 brutal murders, Stayner's father told News Center 4 he visits his son in jail every Tuesday.
Stayner's pleaded not guilty in the Armstrong murder. He has yet to be arraigned in the Sund Peloso case. That trial will be held in Mariposa County after this one is completed. In Fresno, Laura Anthony, News Center 4.
Ultimately, Attorney General Janet Reno will decide if Cary Stayner should face the death penalty.
The white supremacist suspected of shooting up that Los Angeles Jewish Community Center faces new charges tonight. A federal grand jury today indicted Buford Furrow. The indictment charges the 37-year-old with hate crimes in the August shootings of 5 people at the center and the killing of a postman nearby. The federal judge in the case gave prosecutors a couple more weeks to decide if they'll seek the death penalty.
Other stories we've been following around the Bay Area during the last 24 hours. The state held a hearing today in San Francisco on claims by victims of the Holocaust. Under new California law, victims and their families have until April 6th to turn in the claims. Some European insurance companies have agreed to honor some claims of survivors and their heirs. In Daly cities, 17 homes and the people who live there are facing a very uncertain future right now. The houses on Westline Drive may have to be abandoned because of an ancient underground landslide. Engineers for the city say there's not much that the homeowners can do because efforts to shore up the buildings could cost upwards of $25 million, and that is much more than the city is willing to spend. A couple in Florida survived a plane crash today near the Palo Alto airport. A small private plane landed in a shallow, marshy part of the bay just shy of the runway. Investigators say the pilot reported engine trouble and circled the airport once. It's possible that that plane was low on fuel.
Lots more still ahead in the news.